Good day, learners. Godfrey's here for paper 2. In preparation for the June exam that is coming soon, I decided to also prepare you for paper 2 that you are going to, one of the papers that you write. Okay, so 1.1 is saying that you use 1.1.1, A, 1.1.1, B. So you just write the number and the letter. So the first option says rural settlement associated with dash activities. Obviously, the answer here for this section is A, because primary activity is a dominant activity in the rural area. So the answer here is A. Okay, we go to number 2. A dispersed settlement pattern. A dispersed settlement pattern develops when? So we are looking at they want the condition, when does this develop? Obviously, the answer is what? Is B. Okay, because A, one dominant, it means people are going to come together, and that is not dispersed, that is concentrated. A narrow river valley, that means everyone is going to be within that area because it is narrow, it's concentrated. Communal ownership of land, everyone is coming together. So if it's abundance of water, that means water is spread in areas, people can stay where they want, and therefore they are going to result in that dispersed settlement. So that is B. 1.1.3, an advantages of a rural nucleated settlement. An advantage of a rural nucleated settlement, rural nucleated. Okay, nucleated settlement, what's the sharing of farm equipment, rural area. Okay, large common product, that one's wrong. Making decision independent making, that one's wrong. Making large profits, that one's also wrong. So the answer is obviously what? A. 1.4. That is the location of a settlement in relation to the surrounding area. We have a gap, we have a site, we have a bridging point, and a situation. Okay, 1.1.4, which one? Obviously, the answer is a situation, because a gap is a town that is located in between two high-lying areas. Then the site is not the location, it doesn't relate to the surrounding area, it's the exact point where a location is established. So the answer is D for that option, 1.1.4. Okay, 1.1.5, it says a dry point settlement is located dash water because water is far from or scarce, far from a threat, near a threat, near scarce. So the first section, the first part here before a comma, it means it goes here. The second part, it goes here. So which one is applying for 1.5.5? Far from water, we're looking at the dry point. Because far from water, because water is scarce. Is that right, 1.5? No. Far from water, because water is a threat. So it's not, it cannot be, they are not staying from far from water because it is scarce. Obviously, that is very vague. It doesn't even make sense. They stay far away from water because water is a threat. This is what happens. If this is a mountain, imagine that is a mountain, okay? And this mountain, at the lower section, it can be flooded anytime. So people settle up here because they're running away from this flooding, this area. So that means they settle far away from the water source because water is a threat. It will affect them. Okay, so the answer for 1.5 is B. 1.6, the sketch below refers to dash a shaped settlement. Which kind of a settlement is that? You can see there is a T, and settlements are there around the T. Those are the buildings. So this is a road, these are buildings. Which kind of settlement shape that is formed by that kind of what? Is it round? Do you see any round aspect here? No. So A is wrong. Is it semicircle? A semicircle means it's halfway circle. Do you see anything that is halfway circle? No, that is wrong. Is it a crossroad? Yes, because roads are crossing here. Okay, so the answer here is now a C. Okay. The answer there is a C. We go to the next one. The circular shape of a settlement below is influenced by First of all, when you interpret this diagram, there is a key. Which key indicates that there is a lake in the middle? It is circular. That means it is surrounded by one oval thing or round thing. So there is a road can't make it circular. There's a buildings can't make it circular. There's a coastline, okay, and so on and so forth. So when you look at all those options, according to the diagram, which option makes sense? That makes the people to settle around the what? That makes people to settle around a feature. Obviously, the answer is A. All right. We go to 1.1.8. 1.1.8, following the following physical factors determine the site of a settlement. So they give us different options. You're supposed to choose which one is fine. We choose which one is fine. Because one is saying accessibility to transport, the second one is saying distance to market, another one is relief, another one is fertile soil. So which one is physical? Distance to the market. So whatever has got distance to the market is wrong, because distance to the market and accessibility to transport is not physical. Okay, let's try to see. So the answer, obviously, the one that will have the option of Roman number 4 and Roman number 5 will be right, because these two factors are natural factors. And the question says physical factor. So the answer is relief and fertile soil, which is only number part D. So D is the answer for 1.8. This is the answer for 1.8. Okay. I hope it's clear, my learners. I'm hoping it is clear. You are getting it right. Okay. Let's move on. 1.2. 1.2, we are given different options. You just need to match which one is right, which one goes with what. But we only need to write Z or Y. Please understand, learners, you write Z or Y. You don't write Z and Y. You only choose one. Okay? You only choose one. So 1.2.1, they say process whereby an increasing percentage of the country's population is concentrated in urban areas. Of course, yeah, that is why. The answer here is why. Next, 1.2.2, it says an increase in the number of people living in urban areas, which is urban growth. So the answer is Z. Okay. 1.2.3, process whereby people move from urban areas to the surrounding rural areas, which is obviously counter urbanization. And the answer here is Z. Okay. 1.2.4, increase in the actual physical size. Actual physical size is urban expansion, which is Y. Okay. 1.2.5, unplanned spread of urban area. Unplanned, there is no shape, shapeless. It's urban spiral. So the answer is Y. 1.2.6, Decreasing number of people living in urban areas. Decrease. Okay. Obviously, it can't be this. This is movement of people from rural to urban. The answer is Z. Okay. And lastly, arrangement of settlement in an area from the smallest to the largest. From the smallest to the largest, which is the hierarchy. Okay. I hope you understand, my learners. We go to 1.3. They say refer to the source below on landform in South Africa. Okay. Landform in South Africa. So what do? We always read the source, understand it clearly. We even try to answer questions before seeing the source, before going back to the source to read nicely. Like that. We understand the source. We get to know what the source requires. Then we answer. Let's see. A fresh approach to land reform. A fresh approach to land reforms. Okay. They say South Africa currently faces a problem as a process of land reform has advanced too slowly, and much of the land that has been transferred has become economically inactive. Conflicting or different views cause South Africans to have questions about land reform. What is the future of land reform in South Africa? Can the process be accelerated? Will it produce equal outcomes? Whose interest will be served? At a South African Agriculture Congress, a panel discussion on the future of the land reforms agreed that when it comes to successful land reform, intense negotiations and compromises are necessary. This is in keeping with the negotiations. This is in keeping with the three pillars of land reforms, namely redistribution, tenure, and reinstitution. Reinstitution, full stop. Okay. Land reinstitution provides a challenge as funding needs to be allocated to compensate dispossessed communities for land previously lost. Well-managed land reform can create assets for poor, destabilize relationships, and promote development. On the other hand, if it is poorly managed, it destroys assets, causes poverty to communities, and weakens the economy. So when you read that text, it gives you a great information. Then now here it shows that poorly managed, what do you see? There's grabbing here of land. Like you can see, there's grabbing of land. People are displaced. People are losing their property. Okay. Then here people are growing on principles, and therefore you can see settlements are well established. Okay. You can see the hand itself indicates different color of people. Okay. First question, what is land reform? Land reform simply means, from the text, you might not get it, but from what you learned in your schools, you must be knowing something. So what is it? It is a policy. Land reform, it is a policy to bring about equitable or to bring about equitable distribution and access to the land, or to try to find a way that land is equally distributed. Okay, so here we say policy that ensures that land is equally distributed. In other words, by the way, it's mainly to make sure that everyone has got a share of the land where they stay equally, whether you are poor, rich, black, Indian, colored, white, etc. Not to say that land is only to a certain few. Okay. So that is a policy that brings about equitable distribution of land, or a policy that ensures that land is equally distributed to all the citizens of the country. Okay. 1.3.2. According to the extract, what is the benefit of well-managed land reform? We go back to the, when you read the extract, do we get the answers that will answer the questions? Because they want to say, the question says, according to the extract. So when you read, it says, South Africa currently faces problems of the process of land reforms as advanced slowly and much has been transferred and become economically inactive. Conflicts views cause South Africans to have questions about land reforms. What is the future? Can the process be accelerated? Can it produce equal outcomes? Whose interest will it serve? Okay. And then it goes ahead and says, at a South African Agricultural Congress, a panel discussion on the future of the land reform agreed that when it comes to successful land reforms, intense negotiation and compromise are necessary. This is in keeping with the reinstitution, provided the challenge of funding needs to be allocated to compensate the deposit communities for the land previously lost. Now here comes the question that we are answering. Well-managed land reforms can create assets. Can you see that by saying it can create assets for the poor, stabilize the relationship, and promote development? All those ones are good things that come out because the land is well managed. Therefore, the answers for 1.1, 1.3.2 is any of those three, which include can create assets. Okay, it can create assets. Okay, or you can say stabilizes relationships, or you can say promote development. Any of those ones answers that question. Okay, let's go to another question. Another question says, why is land reinstitution considered a challenge? Why is it a challenge? First of all, when you read the extract, it shows you why it is a challenge. Okay, somewhere there they say that you need to allocate a certain amount of money. There is also money that you're supposed to arrange to ensure that you pay those people, okay, that were dispossessed. Or is that money that you're supposed to put aside for legal arrangements needed to conclude everything. So the answers are also coming from here, from the source. But when you read and try to understand, then you can answer. So here we have answers like funding need to be accessed. Money or funding needs to be accessed. Okay? And number two, you can also say that money is supposed to also be put aside for settlement of the legal team or legal personnel. Part B say, how did B, look at this B here. How does B illustrate the successful process of the land reinstitution? Can see that after in B, the picture shows people shaking hands. By them shaking hands, it simply means that it has been a successful process. People have reached an amicable agreement to say this is what is supposed to be done. Okay, we can also go ahead and say there is no fighting. When you look at that, it doesn't even have any sign of people fighting each other. It's just an agreement, shaking hands. There's no way you can shake hands yet you are fighting each other. Okay. You can see that there are some developments on the land that are well established, well settled. So we say there that there is a peaceful environment that is established. Remember, if you reach an amicable agreement, you don't fight each other, things are going to be moving on very well. So here we have answers like shake of hands or shaking hands. Beside the shaking of hands, you can say the environment is peaceful, the environment is peaceful. So any of those ones, remember, you look at the marker question, it is 1 times 2. That means one answer, 2 marks. Okay, we'll go to the next question. The next question, which factor have caused the process of land reforms to advance too slowly? What has caused the process of land reforms to be too slow? Okay, number 1, remember, if we say, if we talk about this process of land redistribution, you are supposed to compensate the people who were really having this land or who were losing the land dispossessed. So first of all, if it comes to compensation, there is limited money. That is limited what? Money, which we say is the budget that is supposed to be put aside for those people to be compensated. So it takes a lot of money that might not be existing at the moment or at that particular time. Okay. Then we can also put in consideration that people are very poor. We say poverty. People are very what? Are very poor. They don't have income. So there is no way, if you have maybe a meeting where you're calling them to attend, they won't attend because they don't have any money to attend. If it means transport, they won't be affording it for any transport from anywhere. So it becomes very difficult for them to speed up the process. Instead, the process will be slowed down. Okay. So among other aspects like lack of documentation, for some people, they might not have the documentation that can favor their or can precipitate their process. Then we also unable to know that, we also know that in most instances, the government might not be having money to give the people. Okay. The government might not be having money to give the people. There are no funds allocated for that. Okay. There are no funds allocated for that. Okay. Let us proceed to the next question. Next question. The next question says, explain the social benefits. Explain the social benefit. Social means people's welfare. Social benefits of well-managed land reforms. Social, that means the discussion should only focus on social. Social is the key aspect here. What are the aspects there? It increases food production and this helps to reduce poverty. Okay. Production increases, hence alleviation of poverty, hence alleviating poverty or ending poverty. Okay. Number 2, if production increases, that means there is employment. So number 2, because of land reforms, many people will have what to do, which creates jobs. So employment opportunities will be created. Employment will be created. And if employment created, still it helps to reduce poverty. It helps to reduce poverty because people will have an income. Okay. Remember, everything that you're saying here, you're just not saying it economically. You're saying everything on the social ground. For example, poverty is a social ground. Okay. What about production of food still? If we say different food products are being produced, that means it helps to improve the diet. Okay. It helps to improve the what? The diet. Okay, because land will be there, people will be using it. They will be growing their own foodstuffs, different foodstuffs, and that will help to reduce poverty. And therefore, if it reduces poverty, variety and different kind of food will be available for the rural communities. Okay, we can also say that in any case, if land is well managed or land reforms are well managed, there is no way people are going to move from rural areas to go to urban areas. So that will reduce rural-urban migration. It will reduce or decrease rural-urban migration because land reforms existing rural areas is well managed. There's no need for people to go to other areas. Instead, people will be happy wherever they will be. Okay. Then you can add on as many as you can, but don't forget the mark allocation that says 2 times what? Times 2. Okay. So we are done with the, we're done with 1.4. I mean 1.3. So we are going to 1.4. Okay, 1.4. And now 1.4, we have to interpret the infograph. And this infograph is talking about the Central Business District of Johannesburg as a land use zone. Okay. Let us try to interpret it. Let us try to understand it. Okay. It says, we have here high, we have low, that is in terms of the land value. Then we have different areas, CBD, transition zone, high income residential area, outlying business districts. So what do we understand here? The CBD of Johannesburg has experienced a decline in economic investment over the past 20 years. This has been due to the problems such as crime, inefficient public transport, decay, decreased accessibility, etc. These factors force businesses to relocate to the outlying business districts, giving rise to commercial decentralization. In spite of this, the land value remains high in the CBD. The transition zone is generally dilapidated, but maintains high land value. Okay, so this is just the information that explained to us that what's happening in the CBD, that there is a lot of problems in the Johannesburg CBD, and this has caused the people to move from the CBD to the outlying business districts. However, the land value in the CBD remains high. And therefore, if it remains high, it simply means the buildings are still tall. If you go to buy land in the CBD, you don't get for it at a cheaper price. It's still expensive. So there are several factors behind that. All right. Let's try to answer the question. State 2 characteristics of Johannesburg CBD that is evident in the photograph. Okay. First of all, when you look at the buildings themselves, what do you see? Buildings themselves, what do you see? The buildings are too tall, isn't it? You can see tall buildings. So the buildings are too tall. Besides them being tall, they are close to each other. Therefore, the building density is high. Okay? The building density is high. Despite the fact that they are close to each other, even the building density is high. Remember, don't forget the marker location. It's 2 times 1. Okay. 1.4.2. Which land use zone has the highest land value as indicated in the graph? You go to the graph quickly. I'll take you back to the graph. The graph is here, and they have showed you that the land value here is low, here is high. This is land value. Here is a high part. This is the lowest part. Which one is reaching there? Obviously, when you see A is higher. And what A stands for? A stands for the CBD. Therefore, the answer 1.4.2 is CBD. That is the land use zone, which is A according to the graph. Okay. 1.4.3. How does the land value in that answer and how does the land value answer to question 1.4.2 influence the building density of the CBD? In other words, how is the land value causing the buildings to be close to each other? Okay. Number one, the CBD, when you look at it, you find out that the CBD, okay, let's get the question. Sorry, once again, how does the land value, which we said in the CBD, influence the building density? Obviously, the CBD, when you look at it, it has got a lot of many buildings. So if it has got a lot of many buildings, what is happening? That as the land value increases, also the building density increases. Therefore, it is increasing. Okay, so as the land value increases, the building density increases. In this case, I'm trying to mean that if the land value in the CBD is high, everyone would want to go to the CBD because it will attract a lot of investments. Everyone would want to go there. The buildings are going to increase and all that. That is what it means. Okay, 1.4.4. Why is the transition zone generally dilapidated despite the high land value? Why is the transition zone generally dilapidated despite high land value? Look at it. When you look at the CBD, let's go back and look at the graph quickly. Look at the graph. When you look at the graph, the CBD is here. The transition zone is this far. Okay, the transition zone is this far. So if this CBD is full, like it's over congested, it's the high building densities are here, where will those people go if this area is so full? They will go out to the transition zone. Therefore, we are going to say that the CBD extends into the what? It expands into the transition zone. That is one reason. So as it expands into the transition zone, it keeps the land value high. Okay, so we shall say the CBD expands into the transition zone. Okay, as it is going into that area, it takes that area away. Then we also say that the owners of the buildings in the transition zone are hesitant to renovate. They do not like to renovate. That's why the transition zone generally dilapidates despite the land value. They don't want, because they don't want to take it as a fact on them to improve the building's quality. Why? Because most of the people come and settle in that area. Some of them they misuse the things that are there, and then it becomes so costly for them to renovate. So they do not want to renovate. That's why eventually the buildings become dilapidated, but the land value remains high. Okay. And also, we also must note that the owners within the transition zones of those buildings, they keep the buildings prices high, despite the fact that they are now dilapidating. Still, they keep it high. Okay. Let's look at the last question. Okay. Let's look at the last question. Here we say, the question says, why is the outlying business district, OBD, attractive for relocation of businesses? Why? Why is it attracting very many businesses? Number one is it's outlying. It's on the outskirts, isn't it? Let us see here. You see, it is far away from the what? From the CBD. Why is it attracting many businesses that are relocating from urban area, CBD, to those businesses? Number one, this area has got less pollution. The pollution is limited because they don't have many buildings, they don't have many industries, so at least it's safer for them in every aspect. Okay, number two, it is not over concentrated, or it's not overcrowded. Therefore, there is limited crimes. Every business owner would want to establish his business where it is safe, no crimes, nothing. That's why you see it attracts many businesses. Okay, we can also say that in such places you find out that there is more space for parking. You know that when you go to the CBD, it's difficult to find space where you can park your car. And if it's there, it's you pay for it per hour, per 30 minutes, and so on. So you find it so costly. So people find out that in the outlying business districts, there's a lot of space where people can park their cars. Okay. Then you look at the land value. Their land value is a bit lower compared to their land value is a bit lower compared to land value of the central business districts. Okay. Besides that, you look at limited traffic in such areas. There's limited traffic in such areas, and that means it can attract business people to go there. You find out that the buildings themselves in such areas are new buildings. Okay, those new buildings can also attract more people, more businesses, and so on. But even the costs to rent in such areas is not as it is in the urban areas. Okay, let's look at 1.5. 1.5 says, refer to the extract. We have the extract here, okay, which is about the informal settlements in eThekwini municipality. So it says floods cause destruction to informal settlements in eThekwini municipality. So the recent flooding in eThekwini and the surrounding areas has claimed thousands of lives. Families are displaced from the informal settlements, worsening the housing problems many already face. Rapid urbanization and government failure to deliver sufficient formal housing are among the driving forces behind the increased number of informal settlements. The unavailability of suitable land for housing is due to the limited progress made with regards to the sufficient housing in areas that are not prone to disasters like flooding. Okay. The guidance say the result is that a quarter of South Africa's urban population is living in informal settlement built wherever people find open space that are prone to disasters. They lack basic amenities and infrastructure, such as proper roads and stormwater drainage system. Many informal settlements are situated near water sources and low-lying areas, which increase the flood risks. Okay. The first question is, what is informal settlement? First of all, an informal settlement, we can say an informal settlement is a settlement that is unplanned. Okay, it's unplanned settlement. Okay, we can say the land that is occupied illegally. Land that is occupied illegally, or an informal structure with different building materials. So one other can say informal structure. Okay, informal structure with different building materials. You can talk about building materials like iron sheets, tires, such kind of materials. Informal structure with different building materials. Okay. 1.5.3. Why are informal settlements in eThekwini at a risk of flooding? Why do you think it is at a risk of flooding? It is indicated in the source somewhere, where we said that they are located near the water sources. Somewhere, I read it somewhere. They lack basic amenities, poor roads, stormwater drainage system. Informal structure situated near water sources and low-lying areas. That is one reason. They only need one, but you can have as many. Please, there is that one. They are located near the water sources. For example, it can be a river, it can be a swamp, all those waterlogged areas or water areas that can flood at any time. Number two, they are located in low-lying areas. Those low-lying areas are always susceptible to flooding. That's why they are at the risk of flooding. Okay. We can also say they don't even have basic, somewhere here, they lack basic amenities and infrastructures. So if there's no infrastructures, it means at any time it can flood. Okay. That is another one. They lack proper channels. I also read it somewhere. Open spaces with disaster. So all that cause flooding. Okay. 1.5.3 is done. 1.5.4. How would the lack of proper roads negatively impact on the emergency services to reach informal settlement in times of disasters like flood? Lack of what? Proper roads and its negative impact on emergency services. Imagine the area has can't be easily accessed because of their roads, and that area has got people that are being that have experienced the flooding. How would these emergency services reach such areas? It won't be easy. It won't be difficult. I mean, it won't be easy. It won't be easy to reach such areas. It will be very, very difficult. Therefore, poor accessibility to informal settlement. It will make it very difficult for such settlements to be reached. Okay. And therefore, if it can't be reached, the emergency service won't also assist because it is inaccessible. It is hard to reach. Okay. Then the last question says, in the paragraph of 8, approximately 8 lines, suggest measures to prevent flood-related disaster. In informal settlements in eThekwini, we're looking at what can you use, what can we do to ensure that we stop the flood-related issues. Okay. First of all, in the text it says people they settle near water sources and in low-lying areas. So the first suggestion that would be that encourage people to settle. Encourage people to settle or to relocate in higher lying areas. Okay. To settle in higher areas, higher lying areas. That is one solution. You will be at least solving the problem. Okay. Then providing proper drainage system. Proper drainage system, like underground tunnels where water can pass. Okay. Then we can also say provide proper houses at low costs. Provide formal houses at low costs. Okay. At least what people can afford. Okay. Then building infrastructures, building proper infrastructure. That people can use, okay, and they can easily access different other things, okay. And then providing stronger building materials, or use strong building materials. Okay. Yeah. So that is it. So we look at the fact that in such cases, you will be solving. However, you shouldn't forget, learners, that they are saying paragraph question. So therefore, if it's a paragraph, it should be one paragraph, not to write them in the blades format. Okay. So that is the question. That is question what? Question 1 of paper 2. So let's go to question 2 of paper 2. Question 2 of paper 2, we are given the table below that has got the gross domestic product that has got 2020 and 2021. So it is showing us the different statistics, the runs in millions. Okay, so they say, first question says, the dash of a country refers to the total value of goods and services produced by permanent inhabitants. Permanent, we're looking at the South African citizens that are permanently there. What is it? The answer is B, domestic, isn't it? Yeah, domestic, gross domestic product. Okay, domestic means home. Okay, 1.2.1.2 says South Africa's gross domestic product, GDP, enables one to compare what? Sorry, South Africa's gross domestic product, GDP, enables one to compare, is it employment rates, is it economic of other countries, standards of living, or imports and export? But when you look at it, the answer is B. The answer is B. We continue. The primary economic activity that contributed most to the GDP in 2020 and 2021. We'll go back to the table. 2020 and 2021. Which one contributed most? Look at it. The services, can you see that? There's agriculture, can you see that? Okay. So which one, when you look at it in billions, contributed most? Which one has got the biggest value? This is 1 million, and here is 10 million. Okay, so the answer there is as simple as you see it, to be the service, isn't it? Or it is the mining. Let me see. Which one contributed most to the GDP? Most to the GDP. Most to the GDP. Let me check here. Gross domestic product. Which one contributed most to the GDP? Let me read the question again. The primary economic activity. The question is looking for primary. But when you look at all these ones, this and this is out because they are non-primary. So what are we remaining with? We are remaining with this one and this one. So of the two, which one contributes most? We go back to the table. Agriculture, look at this one, is 127,960 million rands. This is 114,030 million rands. Look at mining, 213,459. and 220,293. So when you look at the two, which one is bigger? Obviously, mining takes the biggest share. So when you come back to your table, to your answers here, you'll find out that D is the right answer. But now you see, if you did not consider this word primary economic, you are going to say it is a service. And because of the word primary, the service is not a primary activity. Okay, we proceed. They say the tertiary, now we are looking at another one, tertiary, only provision of a service. The tertiary economic activity that provides most to South Africa's GDP. Obviously, the answer there is going to be this, because that is the one that contributes most when you go back to the table. Okay, find out that the service contributes most and it is part of a tertiary. Okay, construction is dash an example of which economic activity? Construction. Okay, construction is an example of a dash economic activity. Obviously, the construction, you are coming up with something new, which is secondary. Okay. The economic activity that showed a decrease from 2020 to 2021. The economic activity that showed a decrease from 2020 to 2021. Let's go back to the table. Which economic activity? Yes, this one increased. This one, yes, it decreased. This one increased. This one increased. This one increased. Yes, this one decreased. This one decreased. This one also decreased. But of the two, which one decreased most? Of all those ones, which one decreased most? And when you look at it, it is agriculture. Okay, you check the numbers and you see which one it has got the most decrease. Okay, 2.7. 2.7 says the economic activity that contributed most to the secondary sector. Secondary, but in which year? 2021. We go back to the graph. We look at 2021, but they want secondary. Which one is secondary? Okay, this is secondary. This is secondary. Okay, so if these two are secondary, which one contributed most? Okay, but we are looking at the year 2021. So which one contributed most? Is it manufacturing? Okay, or it is which one contributed most? So you find out that the answer is manufacturing. Okay, then we go two settlements below. Two statements below are true with respect to the sector contribution made to South Africa's GDP. Two statements below are true with respect to the sector contribution made to South Africa's GDP. Primary sector contributes least. Okay, primary sector contributes least. But is it contributing least? We shall find out. They say secondary sector contributes least. Is it? Obviously, wherever there is two is wrong. Okay, wherever there is two is wrong. But it's true that the primary sector contributes least. Okay, or quaternary sector contributes most. This is not true. So obviously, where we have 2 and 5, tertiary sector contributes most, which is true. So 2 and 5 is right. In these options, which one is 2 and 5? Which one? 1 and 5. 1 and 5 is B. So obviously the answer becomes B. Okay. Here we go. So we have these types of industry. Each type of industry in the diagram below with the description that that follow. You only write and you write the answer. 2.2.1 and you write the answer. Okay. Located close to market center. Located close to market center is market-oriented industries. So here we say market-oriented. Here we say it's market-oriented. Okay. The next one, they say the availability of different modes of transport is important. The availability of different modes of transport is important. So the answer is bridge. The answer is bridge. Okay. 2.3. Needs large amount of flat land and way on the outskirts. Obviously, that is heavy industry. Where is it? Heavy industry. Okay. Then 2.4. Location not determined. See? Location not determined by any specific factor. That means you can put it anywhere. It's loose. So it becomes foot loose. Okay. Location not determined by any factor, any specific factor. The next one is located in built-up areas as there is little air pollution and noise pollution. This is light industry. You can find it in one's house. You can find it anywhere. And where is light industry? Corner. So we say here light. Okay. 2.5. Location is determined by bulk unprocessed raw material. It's bulky, it's unprocessed, you can't transport it, so it's going to be raw material oriented. Okay, oriented. And the last one is telecom, is an example of which one? Obviously is ubiquitous. Ubiquitous industries. So we have now an extract of food security in South Africa. We read the text as usual. You know, learners, we have to read the text. According to the report released by Statistics South Africa, measuring food security in South Africa, applying the food insecurity experience scale, almost 23.6% of South Africans were affected by moderate to severe food insecurity in 2021. Statistics South Africa has been working on improving its measurement of food security and recently introduced the food insecurity experience scale. Since food insecurity is a global phenomenon, it is important to measure it using tools that guarantee comparability across countries. Healthy pandemics such as COVID-19 has denied many South Africans their right to adequate food as indicated in the South African Constitution. This has undermined the efforts that have been made to meet the National Development Plan's goal of zero hunger by 2030. First question, define food security. Define food security. So what is food security? When people have access to nutritious food. The key word is nutritious. When people have access to nutritious food in the country. People have access to nutritious food in the country. 3.2.2. What percentage of South Africans experience food insecurity in 2021? According to the extract, we go to the extract, and when you read somewhere, they say almost 23.6% of South Africans are affected by moderate to severe food insecurity in 2021. So the answer is 23.6. Write it here. 23.6%. Suggest how health pandemics such as COVID-19 lead to food insecurity in South Africa. How? How is okay, sorry. I think this answer is for this. Sorry. This 23.3 is here. 23.6 is here. Okay, sorry for that. What is the importance of food security? What is the importance of food insecurity experience scale according to the extract? Then you go back to the extract. They say, since food insecurity is a global phenomenon, it is important to measure using tools that guarantee comparability across countries. Therefore, the importance is to compare across countries. So we come down and say, it's for comparison or to compare. For comparison across countries. We say for comparison across countries. Okay. 2.3.4 suggests how health pandemics such as COVID-19 lead to food insecurity. Health pandemics such as COVID-19 lead to food insecurity in South Africa. How health pandemics like COVID-19 lead to food insecurity in South Africa. Remember, during that period of the COVID-19, they declared, they said a state of emergency and everyone was supposed to stay at home. That means people were unable to work and produce food. There's no work done during the time when people are locked down. So, inability to produce food, inability to produce food, and therefore, if they are unable to produce food, automatically they cannot be in a position to have that nutritious food. Besides that, if the food is not produced in a country, it's supposed to be transported, to be imported from other countries. But remember, during COVID-19, all the borders were closed. So, borders were closed and countries could not import food. Borders were closed during COVID-19 pandemic. Borders were closed. Borders were closed. So importation of food was difficult. Let's see. 2.3.5. In a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, explain how South African government can assist farmers. How can the government assist farmers in achieving zero hunger by 2030? What can the government do to assist farmers? So, first of all, the government can provide what we call financial support. Besides that, the government can subsidize farmers, allow them to have things at a low cost that can at least help them have food produced. Okay, so subsidize farmers when they are trying to ensure that they have things to produce, like the genetically modified foods, which can grow in a shorter time and that can survive different conditions. Okay. Then encourage cooperatives. cooperatives. You know, these are circles where farmers come, contribute money, and then they get their own stuff. Okay, the government can encourage research on research to find out new aspects, encouraging research. Encouraging research so that research can be done to look at to know which product can grow well, which product can grow, which product can survive in these kind of conditions, and so on and so forth. Okay, then providing farmers with pesticides and insecticides. Providing farmers with pesticides, these kill pests, and insecticides. Pesticides and insecticides. These ones are to kill insects and the other ones are to kill pests. Okay. We can also talk about improving infrastructures to allow them to allow areas where they exist to be accessible. Land reforms should be prioritized. Okay, we can say facilitate precipitating land reforms. Precipitating land reforms such that farmers can be having those lands. We can also look at skill training of the farmers. Skill training. Come up with different programs that train farmers. Skill training of farmers. Okay, to mention but a few, but don't forget, learners, that it is supposed to be in the paragraph formatting. Then you go ahead and say, here we have another graph that shows South Africa's gold. Okay, so now when it comes to this area, I would love to say that for those ones who are coming to write 2023 metric exams, remember they give you different scopes, they give you different areas to handle. So this might not be your part to handle. But those ones who are writing June, this might be your part that you're going to handle. So I think for now I'll stop here such that we can start from there and finish the remaining section, the map work and all that, in that you are prepared to write the exam. I will also come with a map next time. Enjoy your day.